Welcome to the Copilot Extensibility Championship. Our contestants are a graph connector and in this corner a Copilot plugin. Which one will prevail? Hi, I'm Bob German, Cloud Developer Advocate for Microsoft. And in this video, I'll help you decide between two ways of bringing business data into Copilot for Microsoft 365, plugins and connectors. I get this question a lot and I'm hoping this video will help. Now, just to be clear, I'm talking specifically about the Copilot in Microsoft 365. There are a lot of Copilots out there, but this is really about the Microsoft 365 one for now, and I'm specifically talking about Copilot plugins and graph connectors. Before I dig into the details, however, I think it will help to take a peek under the covers at how Copilot for Microsoft 365 works. To do that, I've invited my colleague Angel Zhu, Senior Product Manager in Microsoft Teams Engineering, to explain.
Okay, so how does Copilot for Microsoft 365 work in the background? Well, first thing is I ask Copilot a question, which is a user prompt. And I can do this across Copilots in Microsoft 365 applications. In this instance, I'm asking Copilot, what are the milestones for Project Falcon? And this prompt gets sent to the orchestration engine in the middle. And the orchestration engine is what powers all of our Copilot scenarios. And it doesn't just send the question directly to the large language model. The first step, which is a very important piece, is called pre-processing. And this is where the large language model does grounding. Grounding is a way where we get enough information to answer the question more accurately. And it's a big part of how we don't hallucinate today. The way it gets more information is by calling Microsoft Graph. Simply put, Graph is a gateway into a user's data across the Microsoft 365 ecosystem of products. So think about your emails, files, who you're working with, what you're working on, and the context and relationship around that data, as well as your organization's identity, compliance, security, and privacy policies. So Copilot only has access to what the user has access to. And furthermore, admins can apply additional permissions from the source system to Microsoft 365 Copilot as well. All of the indexing on relationship, relevance, ranking of the content is done through semantic index. Semantic index is a sophisticated map of all the data and content in your org to enable Copilot to deliver more relevant responses. And it builds on top of the standard keyword index. It captures the semantic meaning of the query, parsing out intent beyond the literal words used by the user so that it can expand the amount of information that can be searched for and also identify related relationships and assets to the query. So it will understand jargons that are unique to your org or vague or abstract prompts. Once the orchestration engine says, I have enough information to answer the question, it would take the question and the additional grounding data and send it to the large language model in a modified prompt to give the large language model enough information to generate a response. The LLM will generate a response, and the next step, which is another very important step, is called post-processing step. This is where we get additional grounding, where we call Microsoft Graph once again to validate, one, that responses are accurate, two, that we have the right references and citations in place, and three, we're checking that the response isn't generating harmful content and is still maintaining our commitment to being ethical and fair. Once the orchestration engine decides there's enough information to give a good response, it will respond back to the application. This is a very linear flow. The orchestration engine is a very iterative process, and it could call Graph multiple times, and it could also call multiple other skills. And none of the prompts responses data is used to train the large language models.
All right, so now armed with that information, let's take a look at where plugins and connectors fit in. With connectors, we're actually taking your data and injecting it right into the Microsoft Graph, right into the semantic index. So at that point, it works the same as exactly what Angel explained. It's just that instead of finding information in an email or a Word document, for instance, it's going to get the information that was fed in using the Graph connector. On the flip side, the plugin actually allows Copilot to do another query during that data flow that Angel showed. So what she's talking about there is really the RAG pattern. That is to say, retrieval augmentation generation. And we're just going to add another place for Copilot to retrieve information, and that is your plugin. Here we are in Microsoft 365 Copilot, and the first thing I need to do is turn on the plugin using this little plugin panel. So this helps avoid confusion by letting users select exactly which plugin or plugins they want to use. I have to mention the name or part of the name of the plugin in my prompt to let Copilot know what I'm looking for. And then I get a response from Copilot. Notice that I get back an adaptive card, which has some action buttons on it. So I can also take action from the adaptive card. In this case, I'm going to update the data in the Northwind database. Okay, now let's take a look at a graph connector. And as you can see, this is where we are using the Microsoft Graph API to push extra data into the Microsoft Graph. And that data can then be used by Copilot. So there's a simple node script here in this case that's making the graph calls to set this up. And I can use this in search. Graph connectors for search have been around for a long time. But now if we go into Copilot, you'll see that I can also find the same data using Copilot for Microsoft 365. To summarize the differences, plugins are real-time, whereas graph connectors are only as fresh as the most recent time you've pushed data in, and even then it could take a little while for the semantic index to process them. In a plugin, permissions management and data compliance are up to you as the developer of a plugin. You can have single sign-on, so your user has been authenticated by Entra ID, but it's up to your plugin to decide what that user can do. On the other hand, the graph connector, you feed the permissions in with the data, and then Microsoft 365 takes care of the authorization decisions. Now, as you saw, the Copilot plugin, we had cards that could read as well as write the data. Whereas in graph connectors, there's no way to receive those updates from the card, so it's read-only. And Copilot's going to look at the information in the plugin manifest to decide what to do. However, you'll find it's not able to do anything that there isn't a database query for. For instance, if I wanted to ask what items are low on stock in Northwind, my plugin can do that. But if I wanted ideas for a holiday beverages promotion, my plugin doesn't have a query for that, and it really would be useless, whereas the graph connector, using the semantic index, might be able to reason through that because it has the semantic meaning of the various beverages and items inside the inventory. Also with a connector, the prompt stays within the tenant, whereas in the case of a plugin, a query is going to go out to the back-end service that's behind my plugin. So a third party who hosts that may be able to infer information from your query. So it's not completely contained. Mind you, the rest of your data is still kept inside of the Microsoft 365 compliance boundary, but maybe somebody would know that I asked about chai at a particular date and time. So which is better, plugins or connectors? I have to give a consultant's answer here and say, it depends. It depends on what you're trying to do. I hope this video has helped you understand the trade-offs. If you liked it, please give us a like and subscribe to the Microsoft 365 developer channel so you don't miss any of our developer videos. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.